Donington Park in Leicestershire plays host to the 4th meeting of the season for the 2019 Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. Slightly overcast skies, but still fairly warm here at this fantastic circuit near East Midlands Airport, and it marks just about the halfway point in what has been a staggering season so far for these VAG Group machines. Hello everybody, Scott Woodward here in the commentary box giving you action from today's first of 3 races this weekend for the VW Racing Cup. They've already had qualifying this afternoon, which will give you the grid in very, very shortly. But look at the temperatures, you can see it's a track temperature of 30.4 degrees, air temperature 20.5 degrees, 42% humidity, a little bit of northerly wind in the air as well, which is basically blowing down the pit straight, will give these guys a bit of a tailwind as they head down the straight. So race 1 is almost set to get underway. We've got a fantastic grid installed with one of 3 great races. This race, of course, will set the grid for race number 2 later on tomorrow with the top 6 reversed. But there's a couple of drivers out of place, including championship leader Martin Deppe, who had a bit of an off session earlier on this afternoon. He starts towards the bottom of the top 10. So there, of course, some footage of our fantastic British Marshals. I think, personally, I find they are the best in the world, of course. They're so fantastically trained. They get a refresher every single year. And, of course, anyone can become a marshal if you get yourself on board with the British Motorsport Marshals Club. Of course, it's pretty easy to get yourself started. Remember, these guys are all volunteers. They don't do this and paid. They all do this because they do it for the sport they love, and they do it because they just want to be involved. And of course, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's in the pit lane or sweeping up gravel at a chicane. Doesn't matter. You're all part of a fantastic group of people that make events like this happen. And of course, without marshals, genuinely events like this weekend here for the British GT Championship can't happen at all, because the marshals are one of the most integral parts of a race weekend. So thank you to all of their hard work over the weekend. Temperatures have fluctuated a little bit, which the spectators have been enjoying, of course, here in the sunshine. Lots of short sleeve t-shirts, plenty of great weather here. A little bit of a breeze in the air as well, which means these guys are certainly enjoying it as well. Of course, this weekend they're running the full GP circuit rather than the National, which means they get the benefit of this, the Melbourne Loop, and of course the final hairpin at Goddard's. And of course they turn left and right through the chicane, the high-speed left-hander through the chicane and up to, which is right here on the screen, and up towards that first of 2 hairpins that takes them back onto the pit straight. This is a very fast section of the circuit where you'll see the cars rattling through the chicane and over the curbs. If they're not careful, potentially one small mistake over a curb could cause either wheel or suspension damage and could cause quite a lot of problems. So already this season we've had 3 race meetings in the Volkswagen Racing Cup. They've had meetings so far this year at Alton Park, Snetterton, and on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. They'll be back here in September for the season finale, also on the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. So think of this as a bit of a precursor, a bit of a warm-up for what could be a spectacular climax of the 2019 championship in the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Plenty of airplanes in the air, of course, we are near East Midlands Airport as well, so it means you get plenty of air. Of course, there is the kind of the rumor or the myth that kind of jet fuel does sort of drop down on the circuit, which makes it even slicker. And if that's an extra excuse to add into the long list of excuses that a racing driver might want to use if they make a mistake or have an accident, then of course so be it. Moving into this weekend, the championship standings, of course, now are playing to drop scores. We've got Martin Deppe leading the way on 202 points, followed by Owen Walton in 2nd place with 192. Mark Wakefield is 3rd with 182. Josh Coggan, our pole sitter, is in 4th with 178, with Simon Walton 5th. And Rob Allen, the independent, in 6th position with 170, followed by Tony Prendergast on 158, Russell Joyce on 154, Matt Evans on 142, and Jack Deppe on 130. So plenty of different options for these drivers to work out. There are the cars in the assembly area. You can see there's a mixture of Volkswagen Golfs, Volkswagen Giroccos, and of course, if you're eagle-eyed, the 2 Audi TT Racing Cup cars in there as well, owned by Simon and Owen Walton. Simon, of course, the father of Owen. They've had some success over the weekend, over the season. Last time out at Silverstone, both of them managed to get themselves up onto the podium, but it was Simon ahead of Owen. But Owen gets the bragging rights at the moment in the championship. He heads into this weekend 2nd in the points, ahead of his father, and looking to try and maintain that advantage. Just a little bit of clear up going on around the circuit from the previous qualifying session we've just had. So the cars will be heading out onto the circuit very, very soon. So look at some of the drivers we need to watch out for here, looking at the mix as well. Martin Deborah, of course, on track with his son Jack, and Jack has actually out-qualified him for this first race this afternoon. So Martin's got some work to do back in 9th on the grid. Not the most characteristic qualifying session for Martin, a former British touring car runner. Of course, he's slipped back into the Volkswagen Racing Cup and has been a driving force. As we said, he leads this point standings coming into the weekend. But in second place, of course, chasing after him is Owen Walton. Those two Audi TTs, when they're on form, they really can take the fight to the atypical Golfs and Scirocco's in the field. So watch out for them to try and pick their way through. They're currently on the grid start, with Simon starting in 4th position and Owen set to start in 5th. Looking towards the front of the grid, the front row is set to be Josh Coggan, who has pleasant memories of Donington from last year because he was a race winner towards the season finale in 2018. He's also claimed 1 race win so far this season at Snetterton in 2019. So he's on good form, and he also started towards the front at the Silverstone races last time out when we saw the VW Cup last racing. Alongside him on the front row is set to be the man in P4 in the championship standings, Mark Wakefield. He starts on the front row. He took his first win at Silverstone. He's looking to try and build himself into a really strong campaign for the rest of the year to get himself up into the top 3 and into championship contention with the few rounds that we do have left. Mark's also doing double duty this weekend because he is also competing in TCR UK. He's competing in the ex-Carl Swift Cupra TCR car, so wish him all the best of luck competing not only in a touring car but also, of course, in his regular VW Cup mount. An impressive run in 3rd place on the grid goes to Rob Allam, of course. He's in the Illumi Motorsports machine. He had a fantastic run. He's had pole at Silverstone for race 2, but then technical problems saw him fall out of the front running, and he missed out one of his strongest results. But he's going to try and look for as best a result as he can as an independent. As we say, Jack Depper starts in 6th position. He took his first Hankook Award. That's for drivers who at the start of the season had never appeared on the podium. And there's about 6 or 7 drivers in the field who are eligible for that. And just whilst we look at that, just before we go a bit more into the Hankook Trophy Challenge, you see that's the reason why we've had a little bit of delay to the start of the race. We've had one of the minis off from the mini challenge, a bit of an incident which has seen the marshals had to spring into action, some of the recovery services. So congratulations and to all of our marshals and recovery teams for getting onto that so quickly and to be able to get things cleared up as fast as possible so we can get our VW Cup cars out onto the circuit. 7th place on the grid, we're looking down the order, is Tony Prendergast. He already has one podium to his name so far in his VW racing career. He wants to try and make it 2 this weekend if he can. He's got some work to do from the 4th row of the grid. He'll start alongside Russell Joyce. Russell is also looking for his 3rd Hankook Trophy of the weekend. As we said, the Hankook Trophy is for drivers who, before the start of the season, hadn't ever finished on the podium. So the more trophies you can achieve with that one, the more, I guess, sort of accolades you might get towards the end of the season. Just a couple more minutes before we get ourselves back on schedule for racing to get underway. Of course, the big change for Donington Park this year is pretty much the last couple of years has been the MSV. MSV has taken over the running of Donington Park. Before, it's always been owned sort of relatively independently, but Jonathan Palmer and Motorsport Vision decided to take the reins of Donington Park, and they've done a fantastic job to overhaul it and bring it up to standard, as Jonathan Palmer tends to do with just about all the circuits that he looks after, like Brands Hatch and Snetterton and Alton Park and Cadwell Park. And as we speak, the car's now moving on to the circuit out of the assembly area here for race 1 of 3 of the weekend for the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. It's 3 20-minute races over the weekend. Remember, this race, the result will set the grid for race 2 tomorrow with the top 6 reverse. So even though you might be fighting for 5th and 6th position, if you can finish in P6, you'll get the benefit of starting from pole for the first race tomorrow. So that's going to be a key thing to watch out for as well. Race 3 will be set by the 2nd fastest times from this afternoon's qualifying session. So if your time is good enough to get yourself on pole for the race 3, you may possibly get an opportunity to start from pole once again later on. So you may see a very similar grid lineup to what you're seeing here for this first race. So just for identification, on the left-hand side, the white Golf is this man, Josh Coggan, on pole position in the DW racing machine run by Darrell Wilson. And he is getting set for what will hopefully be another successful weekend of racing for Josh. And he wants to try and repeat his success from last year, as we talked about. A winner at Donington at the season finale last year. On his right, in the grey and green tabbed machine, that is Mark Wakefield. Of course, he had some fantastic races last year. One of the most memorable ones I remember last year was a brilliant overtaking move he pulled off at Croft when he went up the inside of 2 cars into one move into Clairvaux. Fantastic move. He's a real fantastic racer. He knows exactly how to get the best out of his racecraft and his ability, and he'll certainly be gunning for the front row and for the run towards turn 1 to take the lead. So all 16 cars are formed up on the grid, ready for racing to get underway. And wait for the signal. The 1 minute and 30-second boards have gone up. Then the green flag will be waved at the back of the field, out the top of the starting gantry, and then Josh Coggan will lead the field away for their one formation lap to gain some heat and some temperature and pressure into the tyres and the brakes to get themselves in the optimum range to get racing underway. So Josh Coggan leads the field away off the grid, everyone weaving immediately from side to side to get some heat into those hung-cooked tyres. You can see there in the grey and blue car, that is Rob Allam in third place. Then the two Audi TTs, watch for them from rows 2 and 3. We've got Simon Walton and his young son Owen in 5th position. As the field makes its way down towards the back of the grid, the Volkswagen Scirocco at the back of the grid, that is 2018 vice champion Rory Clark. Good to have him back in the field. As we look at the number 19 of Jeff Alden, he's got experience of racing Clios, but he's keeping his experience in front-wheel drive. Here's the grid of confirmation then. Josh Coggan on pole position, alongside him is Mark Wakefield, looking to take his first win, second win after his first at Silverstone. Rob Allam and Simon Walton on the second row of the grid. Owen Walton and Jack Depper looking for another Harcourt trophy in 6th positions. Row 4 sees Tony Prendergast and Russell Joyce in the Scirocco and the Volkswagen Golf. Rounding out the top 10 is Martin Depper, championship leader. Lots of work to do for 9th place alongside Matt Evans in another Scirocco to round out the top 10. Richard Gilbert and Jeff Alden are on the 6th row of the grid together in a pair of Golfs ahead of row 7, which is Mark Steele and Lewis Smith, the former Intermarks champion in the Scirocco, did well on the front row of the grid at Silverstone last time out. And then Michael Jones and Rory Clark, last year's vice champion, struggling on his return back to the championship. He will start in 16th and last on the grid. So looking at form from the last few races and from what happened last year, you have to say Josh Coggan is one of the favourites to take victory, but of course Mark Wakefield's progress as a race driver really has come on over the last 12, 18, 24 months. So we'll wait to see if you can get the jump on him on the run down towards turn 1. So just heading out of Coppice Corner, and now where the old Dunlop Bridge used to be, past the Dunlop Historic Museum, Donington collection, my apologies, and then down towards the chicane that will take them on towards the Grand Prix Loop. There is car number 72, that's Russell Joyce. He's not only known for his racing exploits, but also known for his design of some race cars, including, I'm sure, his own. So you can see the Joyce design brand emblazoned on the side and on the boot lid of his number 72 Golf. Now the cars head down towards the Melbourne Loop. This is a big braking zone here, one of the prime overtaking opportunities at Donington Park. If you can get a good run out of the chicane and force yourself alongside, there's a chance you can even put yourself into a position to make a move, or even dive up the inside to make a pass. And it's the sprint up the hill towards Goddard's. You turn left through 180 degrees, back onto the pit straight to end the lap. Josh Coggan in a very sort of almost TCR-esque looking VW Golf brings the field around onto the grid. Pole position is on driver's right, so looking down the grid, you'll see Josh Coggan on your left on pole position, Mark Wakefield alongside him on the front row of the grid. So Josh Coggan's car in all white on the left, the grey and green car on the right is Mark Wakefield. Then it's the grey and blue car just behind Josh Coggan, that is Rob Allam. The first of the red, white and black Audi TTs is Simon Walton. Owen Walton just back in 5th position alongside Jack Depper in his black and yellow Scirocco as the cars make their way onto their grid spots in the mix. Tony Prendergast in his grey and green JW Bird Motorsport Scirocco in 7th place, and it's Russell Joyce in 8th. The cars to watch out for towards the back. Martin Depper, of course, points to the back in 9th. He's got some work to do to get a good start and a run down towards turn 1. And also watch out for, just at the back of shot there, heading into his grid slot, is going to be Rory Clark in last year's vice champion in car number 52. Rory Clark slots into position, the green flag will fly at the back and the revs will rise for 20 minutes of VW Racing Cup action here at Donington Park. Coggan on the left, Wakefield on the right. The revs will rise and race 1 of the weekend will get underway. The red lights are on. Racing at Donington Park is go. Cracking start from the first couple of rows. A decent start to get away also from Tony Prendergast from row 4 as they head down towards Redgate Corner for the first time. Coggan on the left holds the inside line. A cracking start from Rob Allam from the second row of the grid. A poor start from Mark Wakefield. He's been usurped by one of the Audi TT already. And it's the gravel goes Rob Allam. So Rob Allam with a mistake already at Redgate Corner, picking his way out of the gravel as he can, wheel spinning his way onto the track, but he's down to last and 16th place, throws gravel all over the circuit. He's got work to do from the back of the field. Meanwhile, Josh Coggan unchallenged into the old hairpin for the first time. It is Wakefield back in 2nd place. Then in 3rd place it looks to be Simon Walton. great start for Russell Joyce also. He's made up a couple of spots to around 4th or 5th. There's Jeff Alden with a bit of a tag for Lewis Smith in the background as he charges around the outside at Starkey's corner, but up towards McLean's for the first time. There in 3rd place is Simon Walton and Carter were 9 for 4th on the grid. The two Audi TTs are together. There's Owen Walton in 4th place. And then 5th position now looks to be a good start for Russell Joyce. In 6th position looks to be, that is Jack Depper, and already up to 7th there in the grey and yellow number 30s Martin Depper. Looking to make a pass on his son as he heads down the back straight towards the S for the first time. So battle already being drawn here. The 3 Scirocco's line astern. Tony Prendergast is there looking up the inside of Martin Depper, trying to make a move. Depper has to give him the space, but he may turn across. And Prendergast has to stand on the anchors and look at Lewis Smith charging his way through on the inside line. The Scirocco's really almost getting into each other through there as Prendergast had to back out of the move after Depper closed the door. Into the hairpin for the first time. Owen Walton under threat for Russell Joyce. Joyce taking the tighter line through Melbourne hairpin as they charge up the hill towards Goddard's for the first time. But Josh Coggan has got the advantage. You want to look at Jack Depper, who's under attack. Now, he's doing the attacking himself, throwing it up the inside of Russell Joyce. He's got 4th position, or 5th rather, at the end of the first lap. So across the line for the first time. Coggan leads. Wakefield in 2nd, Walton in 3rd. Simon ahead of Owen in 4th position. One of the Scirocco's in the background was wide on the exit at the final corner. So heading towards tail. What a cracking start for Lewis Smith there. He started back down the order in 14th place, but he's already made it up to 8 spots. 6 places gained on the end of the first lap. He's now side by side between the number 7 of, that was Matt Evans. He's going door to door with Martin Depper, the championship leader. So Martin Depper hasn't really made up many more spots. In fact, it's exactly where he started back in 9th. So he was up as far as around about 6th position, but he's lost 3 spots in the shuffle before the end of the first lap. The lead gap at the end of lap 1 was just over 2 seconds between Josh Coggan and Mark Wakefield. So Josh does have the advantage here. We said that he was a one to watch for in terms of his pace compared to last year. Wide off the exit of McLean's goes Lewis Smith, and he comes immediately under threat from Martin Depper. Luke Alden in the mix as well in his Matrix Motorsport prepared number 19 machine back in 10th. It's a battle brewing here between Owen Walton's 2nd ever championship and Jack Depper. That is a scrap that's going on in the 4th place as they head down towards the chicane for the 2nd time. There is Jack. Flick left, and then right, keeping to racing line, and careful not to hit the sausage curbs on the inside line. As we said, these curbs can be pretty treacherous. You put one wheel wrong, that can be suspension damage or a wheel problem or something even more severe. We've seen even the British GT cars have fallen foul of that chicane earlier on in their qualifying sessions. VW Cup cars are not exempt. Coggan trying to extend the gap as they turn into the hairpin. 2nd for Wakefield. 2 Audis are still line astern, 3rd and 4th. Still Jack Depper in 5th position. And still a very strong run so far from Russell Joyce in 6th position. Across the line, proper fastest lap of the race now for Josh Coggan. Across the line it goes to 144.193. He's got the gap up by a further 9/10 of a second. It's now almost 3 as they come across the line. And then the fastest lap of the race, they get stopped away by that man in the background, the grey and blue car, Rob Allen, after he went off into the gravel at Redgate Corner here just at the start of the race on lap 1. He's up to 12th place already after that mistake, and already puts the fastest lap of the race, fractions faster than race leader Josh Coggan. Now with Lewis Smith in 7th place with the battle that 8th is on, then between Evans and Martin Depper. Depper just can't seem to find a way through these early stages. It's a little wide on the exit, but seems to have it covered as they head up the hill towards McLean's, and then Coppice. There is Russell Joyce running in a slightly distant 6th position. Lewis Smith goes very hot into the right-hander at McLean's, almost runs wide in the process. We're coming up to quarter race distance already. Depper continues to put the pressure on for 8th position on Matt Evans as they turn their way out of Coppice onto the back straight now for the 3rd time. It's Lewis Smith. Lewis, of course, will start back in 14th place. A good start for him already in the early stages. Depper again sneaks a look up the inside into the chicane, but still Evans has the line through the S's. Holding station at the base of the top 10. Prendergast is back in 11th. Rob Allen just behind, he's trying to make tracks in 12th position, and Prendergast will be his next target. Evans is going defensive into the hairpin. Depper tries to get the cut back on the exit, but he just doesn't have the grip and the power to put himself alongside. So not all is well setup-wise with the championship leader for this first race of the weekend. I think the team will have to do some work overnight to get that car a little bit further up the grid. Across the line go the leaders. It's now a new fastest lap of the race for Owen Walton, 144.033. Lead gap is up only by a couple of tenths down to 3.1 because it was personal best for everyone apart from race leader Josh Coggan and also Tony Prendergast. Another new fast lap of the race, stolen again by Rob Allen, 1:43.434. By far and away the fastest man in the field. Trying to make up progress on 12 off the grid, 12 after his spin earlier on. There's Owen Walton, 4th position. And in the pit lane, sadly, is Rory Clark, last year's vice champion. So we had problems in qualifying and they've carried over into the race after starting from the back of the grid. That's, I'm afraid, looks to be a premature end to his race before it barely even got going. The second drawing up here between the grey and white Golf of Mark Wakefield, followed closely by Simon Walton in 3rd place. Owen's not too far away in 4th. He's just pulled away slightly from Jack Depper. Russell Joyce is doing a fantastic job in 6th position to keep pace with them. Just behind the background there in the two-tone white and grey Scirocco, that's Lewis Smith. And then this ongoing scrap for 8th between Matt Evans and Martin Depper. Finally, Martin's got a chance to pull out on the slipstream, but again, just doesn't have the horsepower to put himself alongside. Evans comfortably takes the line through the S's, but Martin Depper's car, maybe not on championship leading pace like it was towards the start of the season. Down the hill towards the Melbourne Loop once again. There, just behind him is Rob Allen. You can see the grey and blue car. He's managed to get himself up and ahead of Tony Prendergast and also Jeff Alden. So he's now up to 10th in the order. So he's now going to try and start to crack the top 10 a little bit further. His first target, of course, is going to be Martin Depper. Watch the line go with leaders. Lead gap has now come down by half a second because Mark Wakefield's put in the personal best for 1:44.2, and he took half a second down from the leader on that lap last time by. Two Audi TT still give chase through Wakefield up through Redgate Corner. Jack Depper doing well in 5th position to try and pick himself up another Harkin trophy. Cascade down through the Craner curves up towards the old air, but again this is now lap 5 of this first race of the weekend for the Maxwell Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup, and now you can see, is that a problem for Rob Allen? There was a big lock up in the middle of the Craner curves. Whatever it was, he managed to get the car anchored up and get past Martin Depper in the process. I think just ahead of them, that Matt Evans has gone slightly wide on the exit of the corner, but he remains at the moment in 8th position, but a change of place now because Rob Allen charging his way back up through the field. He holds the fastest lap of the race. He's now back into 9th position at the expense of the championship leader. Next target is going to be Matt Evans, and I'm sure that Rob will be thinking, right, you couldn't get past Matt on this occasion. Watch and learn. Through Coppice Corner, nice tight run, good exit through the right-hander from Rob Allen. Now taps in the slipstream. Make a dive up into the S's. He's thinking about it. He's looking pretty close. He can't commit to it because he knows Evans will sweep across and take the line. But he's forced a mistake. Evans goes over the gravel track, cuts the chicane. But he has to back off to ensure he doesn't gain an advantage, but therefore a penalty. And then Rob Allen pulls himself alongside under braking, or does he? Because Evans tries to come up the line. There's contact between the pair. Evans was always going to go towards the apex. And that's the front bumper lodged underneath the front end of Evans' car. It finally quickly escaped stage left. But in the process, Martin Depper still straight back through until Rob Allen throws it back up the inside line. But now he's going to be bereft of front downforce because the front bumper's been torn off the number 89 Golf. That means now he's up to 8th position, but at what cost? Because he's lost the front end grip. This will put him at a disadvantage because the cars behind, Depper and Prendergast, will take full advantage of this for the remainder of the first race of the weekend. We've got just under 11 minutes to go. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, the lead gap has come down substantially because Mark Wakefield has taken almost a second out of leader Josh Coggan, and it's down to 1.6 seconds now. Carry on looking at the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th, but the lead battle has really come down to 1.6 seconds. A personal best for Mark Wakefield, a 1 minute 43.915. You can see visibly how much closer it is. There's Mark Wakefield in car number 18. Closing in on racing with Josh Coggan. Meanwhile, in the background, there's a change between Jack Depper and looks to be Owen Walton from 4th position. Jack Depper was on the outside line into Coppice Corner in the background. And there hasn't been a change of place just yet, but Owen is under threat now, both from Jack Depper and Russell Joyce. Meanwhile, there is Josh Coggan. He's got a bumper scraping. He goes, cuts all the way to the second part of the chicane. Is he under pressure? Has he got some damage on the front end here? Because yes, you can see, look at the front end of the car. Looks like the under tray of the front section of the car is rattling on the front of it, and that's going to be reducing downforce. Meanwhile, up the inside for 5th position goes Russell Joyce. That was a move on Jack Depper. As Lewis Smith watches on. Back with our scrapping trio. This is Rob Allen under threat from Martin Depper once again, trying to hold off the championship leader. As Tony Prendergast keeps an eye on both of them in 10th position. Now towards the front, a black and white flag has been put out to both the cars 2 and 24. 24 is Lewis Smith, 2 is Richard Gilbert. As Josh Coggan has to defend the inside line into Redgate corner under threat from Mark Wakefield. So he's obviously losing downforce and pace, and whatever it seems to, I think he's possibly hit one of the sausage curbs at the chicane a little bit too hard, and that's dislodged the underneath of the car and causing problems for him grip-wise. Wakefield in second place, but he knows possibly that Coggan could be a sitting duck here as they turn up through the old hairpin. He's on lap 7 here, we've still got just under 9 minutes to go, and Josh Coggan is clinging on to this race lead, but the question has to be when rather than if Mark Wakefield will get through. Up to the top of the hill, through McLean's. Slightly wider run through the right-hander for Coggan. Wakefield carries a little more speed. Simon Walton in the background watches on in third place. And rattling over the curbs at Coppice Corner won't be doing the under-tray any favours. Josh Coggan continues to soldier on in the lead, but possibly if he has to try and make this golf the widest thing at the venue, Mark Wakefield has to try and find a strategy to make his way through. Either force him into a mistake or try and close in, make a move at some point into a braking zone. Someone's locking up into the S's further back. Screech the tyres, we head back down towards the hairpin once again. Coggan has to take the defensive line. If he's not careful, Wakefield will try and get through, and Coggan parks his car on the apex. But Wakefield will try and force himself alongside. It's going to be a side-by-side sprint towards Goddard's, but Wakefield's in the inside line. He's got the move done up into the left-hander of Goddard's. Sweeping through into the hairpin and through into the lead goes Mark Wakefield. Coggan will try and get him back on the exit, but he has no response as they charge down the pit straight. So a change of lead. Mark Wakefield takes the lead from Josh Coggan down towards Redgate corner they come. And Coggan will try and respond on the run into the right-hander, but there's nothing there. Was a big lock-up for Mark Wakefield. This could be the chance. Coggan needs to get himself back up the inside on the exit. But there's enough momentum carry through for Wakefield to hold on. But Coggan is trying to prise the door open as they start to tumble through the Craner curves. On lap 8 here. Just under 7.5 minutes to go, and Coggan's looking back up the inside line into the old hairpin. Coggan goes through. Coggan with a Volvo up the inside into the old hairpin and back into the lead past Mark Wakefield. Bit of an unexpected pass. I'm not sure Wakefield expected that one, but he's going to come back at him side by side up the hill through Schwantz curve up towards McLean's. They're door to door as they head up into the right-hander. Coggan's got the apex, but he may run too deep, which he may well do. Wakefield pulls alongside, they sprint up the hill towards Coppice Corner. Wakefield's got the move done, so back into the lead, but they've got to be careful because behind them, all the scrapping is now bringing in Simon Walton into play in third place. Look at the number 9 Audi TT, he's now close right onto the rear wing of Josh Coggan, and he's going for second place at the expense of the VW. Up towards the S's now for the 8th time, and Coggan tries to outbrake them with a run into the S's. This race has suddenly come alive in the second half. With 6.5 minutes to go, Mark Wakefield hits the front, but Coggan and Walton are lurking behind. It does look as though whatever the problem was with Josh Coggan's car seems to have resolved itself, or the front of the under tray seems to have stopped flapping. And now Josh is back on pace, it seems, so Coggan's not letting Mark get away too much. Just back behind him in 4th position still is Owen Walton. He's now under threat from Russell Joyce in 5th, and Lewis Smith has been on a fantastic performance to pick up 6th position from 14th on the grid. And remember, if he stays where he is, Lewis Smith will inherit the reverse grid pole position for race 2 tomorrow, because the top 6 is reversed for the second race grid. It's a reflection of the race 1 results, but Lewis Smith will get the pole for finishing 6th position. Now through Redgate corner, it's still Josh Coggan, not allowing Mark Wakefield to get away too much. You can see some debris from some of the marker posts that have been strewn over the circuit, but through the old hairpin. Josh Coggan really carrying a lot of speed through the right-hander as they come up through Starkeys. Wakefield's advantage, well, we thought he may have had something. You can see the under tray on the front of the car stopped flapping, so whatever it was, he's rattled it on a curve that seems to have fixed it and lodged it back into place. Way, Coggan has found his pace once more, and now this does not seem to be a set victory for Mark Wakefield, because Coggan's got enough momentum now to try and come back at him. And as I say that, he's now losing pace on the pit straight. I think that might have been the commentator's curse, because Josh Coggan is slowed up on the exit of Coppice Corner, and through into 2nd place goes Simon Walton. Just as we said, his pace was looking good on that first part of a lap. Whether that's a missed gear or not, it looked like possibly a missed gear, because he's got back up to pace pretty quickly. So under pressure to try and reclaim the lead, Josh Coggan makes a small lapse in judgment. He's going to throw one back up the inside into 2nd place at the expense of Simon Walton. but he runs too deep on the exit, and Walton says thank you very much and slides back up into second place as a result. Back up towards Goddard, and look behind them because 4th, 5th and 6th and 7th place are all closing in. As now Lewis Smith looks to the outside line of Russell Joyce into the Goddard's hairpin, tries to prize the door open on the outside line. Russell Joyce has the car in the right position. And now that there's been the mistake for Josh Coggan, Mark Wakefield's been released to the tune of 3.4 seconds at the front of the field. He really has pulled the lead away. In fact, the last lap times are both cars behind. So 146.6 for Simon Walton and 147.6 for Coggan. So Coggan lost more like 3 seconds at least and 2 places in the process. And he's actually losing time now to second place man Simon Walton. He's coming under threat also from the second of the Audi TTs already. So all is not well once again with the number 12 Golf. Now they start in the pole position. And now look at the way that Owen Walton's becoming under threat from both Russell Joyce and Lewis Smith, who goes round the outside of the Golf. And Joyce doesn't seem to have a response. Smith tries to cut back across. There might have been a little bit of contact in the braking zone. It's a lock up from the rears of Smith's Scirocco, but he holds on to the place. And Russell Joyce now has to try and defend from behind because Jack Depper's coming back into the mix here. He's in 7th place in the black and yellow Scirocco at the back of the train. There he is in car number 33. Josh Coggan, once leading to the tune of about 3 or 4 seconds, seems to dissipate pretty quickly. Meanwhile, these two are still going at it. Rob Allam and Martin Depper cannot seem to escape each other because Rob Allam is doing everything he can to hold Martin Depper back, who has not made any progress up from where he started. He started 9th, he remains 9th, he's going to lose key points to his championship rivals. As now, to the outside line it goes, Jack Depper on Russell Joyce. Just ahead of him, Lewis Smith was on an attack against Owen Walton. But no change between those 4 cars. And still, Josh Coggan's got enough pace to keep these 4 at bay. As behind them, once again, Allam and Depper go at it, and Allam's got the line he needs to maintain the place. But Martin Depper's losing valuable points here. Of course, he'll have to start 9th. Race number 2, this is where he finishes. Now got just over 2 minutes to go here as we watch this battle that continues to rage. The 6th place between Russell Joyce on the left in the Golf, on the right Jack Depper in the black and yellow Scirocco. Jack will have to get one over his father, of course, finishing ahead of him, finished behind him last time at Silverstone. So try and get better this time. Right, here comes Lewis Smith diving up the inside with great momentum through the Crater curves, sliding through at the old hairpin to take what is now 4th position, or it was, but he ran too deep on the exit, missed a gear, straight back through on the exit. As a result of that goes Owen Walton. And not only that, but he's come under threat as Russell Joyce has slid through. And look at that battle between Joyce and Depper. Smith has just lost himself straight into the middle of it, and now Depper's got to deal with Smith on the run up towards Coppice Corner. Into the right-hander. Depper's managed to put him to bed as well. So in the process, what could have been a great move, what was shaping up to be 4th place, I see him shuffled all the way down to 7th in the space of a few corners. Just behind him, this battle for 8th continues to be unresolved. We're going to start the last lap next time by Martin Depper. Whatever it is, whether it's a car setup problem or just confidence in himself, whatever it is, just can't seem to find a way through. Mark Wakefield will be heading across the start and finish line any moment now to start the last lap of this first race here. Fairly action-packed. Russell Joyce goes wide on the exit of the Melbourne Loop. This now allows Jack Depper to pull himself alongside on the sprint up the hill towards Goddard's, but Joyce has got track position. And just turning into Goddard's, no real change in place. Now behind Robert. Allam is now coming to threat, and Allam runs wide. That was going to be a change of position there for Martin Depper. Mark Wakefield has got a lead of 4.2 seconds here as he spread eagles the field on the last lap here at Donington Park this afternoon. The sun hangs low in the sky. We're coming up to almost 6:15 in the afternoon now. Mark Wakefield has had to fight tooth and nail to get this victory. Started in the front row of the grid, fell back a little bit throughout the race, clawed his way through past that man, Josh Coggan, in 3rd place. He may still yet finish up on the podium if he can keep Owen Walton at bay, because it is going to be moment at least one Audi TT on the podium. Can Owen Walton find something in this last tour of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit to make it 2 Audi TTs on the rostrum for race 1? Through McLean's. Coggan's car looking steady. He's got enough pace left in him to hold him back, it looks as though. Just behind, the battle was going on between Rob Allam and Martin Depper seems to have quieted down because Allam's pulled a couple of seconds now at the expense of Depper. It's 1.2 seconds across the line. Now head down towards the S's for the final time. Coggan there in 3rd place. Owen Walton fourth. Then the battle for fifth as Jack Depper might get one more chance to go through. That's Tony Prendergast running wide on the exit of Coppice Corner, going for a last-minute excursion, but he rebounds back onto the circuit. But into the Melbourne Loop for the final time comes Mark Wakefield. Took his first win at Silverstone and looks as though he's going to follow up that momentum in the best possible way. He had to fight tooth and nail for it and had to really put Josh Coggan under pressure at times, but it's come good when it mattered. As into the final corner for the final time, Mark Wakefield begins his Donington Park weekend in the best possible fashion. He wins race 1 here at Donington Park for the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. Across the line, for second place goes Simon Walton, and for third place it changes on the line because Josh Coggan will not make it across the line in third, fourth, fifth, sixth or seventh. Josh Coggan loses out. There's more drama. Jeff Alden's got a bent left front wheel, so there's been collision with somebody. Whether that's related to Tony Prendergast going off, I'll have to wait and see. He won't even make the flag because Jeff Alden's car's ground to a hole. And look at the front left, it's been completely askew. So whatever's kicked off on the last lap of the race has seen great drama, because at the end of that race, looking at the final result, Josh Coggan was able to just squeeze over the line in fourth place, just before Depper, Joyce, Allen and Martin Depper all powered past him. But drama on the last lap of the race in the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. Jeff Alden's car grounds to a halt. Now, we haven't seen what happened to him, as throughout the final corner comes the number 6 of Michael Jones. Just in the back, it looks to think that's the number 2, I think, coming through, of Richard Gilbert. There is your race winner, and it is 2 Audi TTs on the podium. Mark Wakefield takes victory in race number 1 of the weekend in the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. As for Jeff Alden, he'll walk away and think, what on earth was that all about? So that car will have to be recovered before we get the next races underway here at Donington Park, because there's still a couple more left to go. But there's confirmation. Your race winner here at Donington Park, Mark Wakefield, after a hard-fought battle with Josh Coggan. He was able to take the victory by just over 4 seconds, and the Walton team will be absolutely delighted. There's going to be 2 Audi TTs joining him on the podium as well. Josh Coggan, meanwhile, for confirmation, the problem was out of the final corner. As we said, he was able to pull himself back into 4th place. Do you just get a feeling that with Tony Prendergast going off on the last lap of the race, maybe there was some kind of relation, because when they came back through on the timing screen before they came back across to complete the last lap, they were in close proximity to each other in the rankings. So maybe there's been a bit of an altercation. But rather than speculate too much, we'll wait and see what the stewards have to say on that one, if anything. But the cars will make their way back into pit lane. And we have got a replay, we're being told, so we're going to have a look and see what potentially happened. Let's take a look here. Now down towards the final corner, and the front left suspension just collapses. So no contact. Jeff Alden's car's front left suspension just simply collapses on the run towards Goddard's under braking. I suspect when he hit the brake pedal, the weight which went onto the front of the car just caused the front left to collapse onto itself. So no contact, he simply did it all by himself. I'm sure the team will go back and have a look at that to try and rectify the problem for race 2 tomorrow morning. So here's confirmation of the provisional result. Mark Wakefield takes the victory by 4.1 seconds from Simon Walton, and it's Owen Walton making it a double Audi podium in 2nd and 3rd place. Poleman Josh Coggan had to fight tooth and nail, but he finishes up in 4th with problems in the closing stages. Jack Depper picks up 5th position ahead of Russell Joyce, and Rob Allen fighting up to 7th place after spinning at the first corner. Martin Depper couldn't get higher than 8th. Championship leader with problems throughout the race there. 9th for Matt Evans and 10th for Tony Prendergast after he's off. And it's still Lewis Smith down to 12th, with Jones, Gilbert and Alden rallying up the top of the deal. That Alden looks as though he will be classified, because he pretty much completed 90% of the race, which means he will get through and classified in 15th position, albeit a lap down. Rory Clark was the only man that didn't finish the race due to problems which we presume were carried over from qualifying through into the race, and he retired after the first few laps. There's a very, very happy Mark Wakefield after a job well done, and he will celebrate, I'm sure, on the podium with his fellow drivers. And he heads over to the team and to his family. And it's always a family affair in this form of motorsport. But well done to Mark, and of course he'll have to start from 6th place on the grid, and that means that Russell Joyce, by virtue of the regulations for race 2, Russell Joyce, who finished in P6, he will get set to start from pole position for race 2 tomorrow morning. So great action here this afternoon for the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup, and surely there'll be more of the same. Of course, Josh Coggan will have to try and fix whatever problems he had aboard the DW Racing Golf to try and put himself back up the order and try and redeem himself. He will start for a bit of sequence in 3rd place. Meanwhile, let's go to Parc Fermé here from our race winner, Mark Wakefield.
Mark, that was absolutely fantastic out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. You know, I'd just like to thank all my sponsors, Lisan, MIGOs, Hub for Leaders, my mum, my dad, all my family. I know I've done it for them, but yeah, just come away with a win. You know, after the problems we've had with the gearbox testing on Thursday, just to come in, take the win for everyone. You know, it's absolutely brilliant.
But you were a fair bit behind Josh to start off with, then you start catching him up, and then he obviously had a problem, and then you really started to battle out with him.
Yeah, well, we went out on old tyres, I think so did Josh, and to be honest, I thought it was the wrong choice to start the race. They were reeling us in. Then all of a sudden, I caught Josh. Josh had a slight problem. I took the lead, and then I thought, you know, the Simon was going to catch me, but, you know, we managed to make a decent gap and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually took the win. So, yeah, absolutely made up.
Well done. I bet you must be absolutely delighted with that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Cheers, thank you.
So very happy Mark Wakefield. Actually, he had to change a gearbox on Thursday after testing, so the fact that he's managed to get that car through, not only to get himself around starting towards the front, but also to pick up a victory in the process that was very hard fought, is just rewards. And of course, Mark will try and do the same, as we mentioned, tomorrow, but it'll have to be from 6th on the grid due to the reverse grid ruling for race number 2. I'm sure we'll get a word from our 2 Waltons in a moment. I'm sure we'll probably get both of them, of course, as it is father and son. But, of course, Josh Coggan will have the virtue of starting in 3rd on the grid for tomorrow. He'll get a chance to redeem himself to rectify whatever problems he may have had over the course of that race. What of Martin Depper? Started back in 9th place, only got as high as 8th towards the end. So maybe it's just an off weekend for Martin to try and get himself back on pace tomorrow. Some work for the Maxim Group team, to Maxim Motorsport squad, to try and get that car back on pace. And shame for Rory Clark as well. If he'd had that car back up to speed as well, he possibly could have got himself towards the front as well. But again, he'll have to try and regroup and start from the back of the grid in race number 2. So plenty of action for our marshals to have to try and cope with, particularly recovering Jeff Alden's slightly battle-scarred Golf after its suspension failed on the run towards Goddard's at the end of the race. But plenty of talking points for the drivers to discuss and to ponder over tonight, and also pore over the data to try and find that extra little bit of speed ahead of tomorrow's 2 races. Of course, the 3rd race is going to be set by the 2nd fastest times from the qualifying session earlier on this afternoon. It's good to see that even at this later stage in the afternoon, heading towards the evening, it's still looking fairly warm and the sun is still beating down here at Donington Park. And it is one of those fantastic picturesque circuits that carve its way into the scenery. It's a fantastic pitch. You can see a pure example there, the Craner curves in the old hairpin, one of the best sequences in British motorsport. You tumble down at high speed. You've got a car that's got good mechanical grip. You can really benefit from that, and it is one heck of a ride. Meanwhile, heading onto the podium now for the top 3. There's Dave Goddard, who's taking care of circuit commentary duties for the podium. And so it should be Stuart Lyons of Maximum Group and Maximum Motorsport to present the top 3 with the drivers head up onto the podium.
Just spot where my microphone works. There we go. Sorry about that.
So just waiting now for the first of our 3rd place men. We're going to get the Harcook Trophy driver first of all. Looks as though it's going to go to Jack Depper. So Jack Depper makes his way onto the podium and collects his trophy and bottle of champagne for being the highest placed driver in the Harcook Award standings, where he picked up a superb 6th place.
And a bottle of fizz as well.
And just confirmation of the trophy and bottle of fizz that all the drivers will get. So Jack Depper steps down from the podium and will be able to welcome up the top 3 on to the rostrum any moment soon. In fact, they'll be able to join him on the rostrum in a second. So on to 3rd place for the Audis is Owen Walton. Up onto the 3rd step of the podium goes Owen, and that'll be key points in his fight for the championship that he's taken away from Martin Depper. 2nd place for Simon Walton. It's a father and son battle, and father gets the better of son this time by once again. I'm sure the team will be delighted to get both their cars on the rostrum this time by. But his 2nd win of the season, fresh off his victory at Silverstone after a great performance. Mark Wakefield picks up the winner's trophy and the bottle of champagne and heads to the top step of the podium to share it with Jack Depper and the Waltons. And after a hard afternoon's racing. I think there's only one way for them to cool down in just a moment, but they'll all pose for the official photos. I'm sure that Dave Goddard will also have a chance to chat with them and find out how Mark and co found that race. And once the official pitches are done, there's only one thing left on their minds, I'm sure. That'll be to down the trophies. He's second now. And instantly get busy with the fizzy because it will be champagne time. And the Walters immediately exit stage right, but still Jack and Mark are going to stick around to plaster some of the fizz. And as the celebrations continue here at Donington Park after a fantastic race, be sure to join us tomorrow for 2 more action-packed races for the Maximum Group Volkswagen Racing Cup. For myself, Scott Woodward, and all of us here at Donington Park, congratulations to Mark Wakefield, and we'll see what he can do from race 2 tomorrow. But from all of us here, thanks for watching. Catch us tomorrow for more action from the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Bye for now.